We're going to be seeing a lot of fawning coverage of Biden, I predict, for the foreseeable future. And it's already starting, and I think it's important that we call it out because it's pretty insufferable. CNN made some ridiculous comments that just bordered on propaganda, basically, about Joe Biden, the contributor David Chalian last night.
Still some tinkering going on with the inaugural address, but his aides have made really clear it's not like he's trying to ignore or paper over either what happened at the Capitol 2 weeks ago or what we've been through throughout 4 years of the Trump presidency. And the contrast on display tonight was so stark. I mean, those lights that are just shooting out from the Lincoln Memorial along the reflecting pool. It's like almost extensions of Joe Biden's arms embracing America. It was a moment where the new president came to town and sort of convened the country in this moment of remembrance, outstretching his arms. And contrast that with that video you just saw of a disgraced president on his way out at his lowest point in his presidency at the very end here by himself, fighting for his political movement to live on, and not even necessarily promising that he's going to be leading that movement, you noted in his remarks tonight. I just think that sort of isolated.
So, I mean, this romanticism of our institutions, and particularly centrism, which is the ideology that Joe Biden has run with his entire career, even if now he's at the center of the Democratic Party, which has moved further left. I mean, it is a disease. It completely warps the media's view of politics. It's disconnected from how everybody feels. Nobody saw the lights reflecting off the pool at the Lincoln Memorial and thought, that's Joe Biden giving me a nice hug. Like, it's demented.
I think he was just microdosing LSD.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's like, I'm going to have a little party on the last night of the Trump presidency. And I don't mean to be too harsh, because I know that a lot of these people in the media, they do mean well. But like, that makes no sense. And it's also the direct reason in many respects as to why we had conditions that led to Trump in the first place. This lionization of a corrupt political establishment and a political class that the media didn't necessarily actually combat in any substantive way until Trump came around, and then it was just Trump. And we're gonna rehabilitate Republicans starting in 5 days.
I don't think it's going to take that long. I will agree with you that there is, and particularly on days like today, like inauguration, it's all like, the writers of the West Wing were basically taken out and shot up with steroids and told to tell everybody what to say. With that said, the other problem, put up this tweet that I just put in there. The flip side of that, look at this. This is here, zoom in on that and the one below it too, actually. It is, they are knocking Joe Biden for his,
do you know what that is, Sam?
Yeah, it's a Peloton.
Peloton.
And it is, they are writing a story about Joe from Scranton, right? Like, this guy is everyday Joe, but he has a fancy exercise bike. And it's like, are you serious? Are we really do we have to get that granular about Joe Biden that here it is. Biden has a Peloton bike that raises issues at the House. It doesn't exactly comport with his regular Joe from Scranton persona. Like, are you effing serious?
Well, they think it's all cosplay, Sam, because it's not. Biden's been in politics for 50 years. He's not regular Joe from Scranton. He's been a senator since his 20s. So he doesn't but that's how they see politics, right? So some of the media, he's regular Joe, so he's got to perform it.
Well, let's see, even if he wasn't in politics, most people who own Pelotons don't work in politics. You can be regular Joe. I got news for you. Regular Joes in Scranton, they may have a workout room in their garage, or they have a gym membership, or maybe they do have like the one. I spent some cash. I bought an ATV. Which costs, I don't know. I don't know how much a Peloton costs, to be honest with you. But
it's like over $1,000. But
okay,
but
there's no doubt in my mind a regular Joe from Scranton has something that may be worth $1,000. But this guy's the president of the United States, and you're saying like we're focusing on his exercise bike. We got 400,000 Americans dead.
Michelle had one, by the way.
Couple $100,000, 100,000 people dead in the next month or two. No one gives an S about his Peloton bike. There is a disease that these reporters have.
I know, but I think that's distinct from the one I was, delineating before.
It's the flip side. It's the flip side of the same coin. How so? Well, I mean, on one hand, it's like they are looking at like all of the metaphor, and they're looking at like, they're trying to project onto Joe Biden all the great things about America, and that he is, signifying it. Simultaneously, though, you have like these other sort of myths about Joe from Scranton. Like you say, it's a myth. It's the same. It's the flip side of the same myth. And the idea that, this is like, it's not important to us whether John Kerry eats his pizza with a fork or not. Yeah. Or puts ketchup on his eggs or doesn't, or whatever it is. In any more so than it is that, like, lights on the memorial, on the Washington Memorial look like that they're Joe Biden's arms reaching out to hug us all. I mean, it's all of.
But the latter is about like mythologizing American power and pretending it's some sort of distinct and benevolent force in the world. I mean, that's what the media wants to do. They want to return to that fantasy. And I think that that's an even more dangerous fiction that a lot of the legacy media subscribes to. And that's primarily what Trump, why they were infuriated by him, was because he didn't uphold the myth and the beauty of America and the institutions and the big club that everybody's a part of and everybody feeds off of. And so I
think it's deeper than that, because I think it's not so much the specific myth that they wanted to maintain. It's that they couldn't deal with myths, that they could. And like, that's the thing, that's what I'm saying, is that the Joe from Scranton and the, light on a shining hill, the beacon on a shining hill, this is all just like both of them. It's all, it's cosplay. The point is that you assess politicians based upon their policies. You assess politicians based upon the political machinations that they're doing to impose an agenda. The reason why they didn't like Trump was not just specifically because he broke that narrow myth. It's that like, wow, shit's too real. We've actually like have such a distinct, like sort of like conflict here that there's actually like, it's so obvious what is happening on the reality. It's so obvious that there's this sort of like that the mythology that, broadly speaking, that we have constructed about American politics, which involve like America's role in the world and America's, relationship with their president and all of which are just all mythology. Trump wouldn't allow them to sit in that area because, frankly, it's like this guy, Chalian, right? He was a drama major, right? You said
that's the least shocking thing about that.
Well, but the point is that like you don't need to do anything to do either of those things. There's nothing. You could pull somebody off the street and go like, "Hey, this guy's regular Joe. He's got a Peloton. There's conflict." Or, Joe Biden loves.
They go with, right? Like everyone in media deals with narratives to some extent. I mean,
but it's not. Everybody deals with narratives, but these are completely irrelevant, manufactured
100%.
and fantastical.
And in fact, dangerous. I mean, the ones that protect power are dangerous. And like
all of them are dangerous because they all protect power because they mystify politics.
But I mean, we engage in narratives. We believe that progressivism is the right way to go. That's not a dangerous one, though.
There's a difference between narratives and mythological narratives.
Agreed.
Narratives is one thing, of course, but the idea that you're dealing with stuff that is completely irrelevant to what these people do, that's what's problematic. I mean, yes, it gets deployed in American, exceptionalism, and it gets deployed in the way that we're imperialist, but it also gets deployed in ways that we don't understand what is important about our politics. And those two things are, they're different in what they bring about, but they're both just as dangerous, because if people if people are so far removed from the implications of their politics that they think it's like that regular Joe having a Peloton is an issue one way or another, politics are not going to work the way they're supposed to work, which is to provide what people want.
Yeah. I think what irks me the most about the CNN clip, though, is the American exceptionalism aspect, and the fact that, we were started as a nation in opposition, in theory, to monarchies and into this dynastic vision of power, and we've almost just transitioned into a different iteration of that, which is this like celebrity worship aspect of power, and also just this which is what you're talking about, but this obsession with our institutions and this like almost religious aspect of it, and how the Lincoln Memorial and Joe Biden with his arms around the hundreds of millions of Americans. Like, that is a bizarre way to view leadership and politicians, especially when you're supposed to be adversarial to them. As somebody who's a part of the media, it's bizarre to me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I do think I understand, at the least, on this day, the desire to have a president who seems at least to care about the fact that 400,000 of the people in their country has died. I mean, like that.
We're celebrating that, yes, but I mean, again, I think like my reaction to the inauguration speech was like, as soon as it's done, okay, let's get to work. Like, I think that has to be the perspective.
I just want to say, I think it's psycho that CNN would waste people's attention with a completely nothing couple minutes like that guy gave his audience. I mean, that is really edging out actual politics and good use of people's attention.
And why do Trump supporters think the media hates them? I mean, and is biased against Trump. I mean, obviously it's a lot of his nonsense, but like clips like that don't help.
Nope.